You've been tracking every single calorie and you're eating less than you burn, and at least that's what the app says, but the scale hasn't moved in weeks. Sound familiar? You're not alone. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything wrong. Because here's the problem. Calorie counting is built on estimates that are far less precise than they appear. And when you treat those estimates like exact numbers, nutrition can get more frustrating, not less. So in this video, I'm going to show you why calorie counting fails so often and what actually works instead. Let's get into it. Here's something most people don't realize. The calorie number on a nutrition label isn't an exact measurement. Food labels are allowed some variation, serving sizes aren't always perfectly consistent, and the numbers themselves are often based on standardized calculations rather than measuring the exact energy in every individual product. Now add that uncertainty across every meal, every snack, and every day. Even when you're tracking carefully, the number in your app is still an estimate, not a precise measurement of exactly how many calories you consumed. And it gets even harder when you eat food you didn't prepare yourself. Restaurant portions can vary, cooking oil is easy to underestimate, sauces and dressings add up quickly, and the serving you receive may not match the portion listed in an app. So that salad you logged as 350 calories might be considerably higher, depending on how it was prepared. Here's the second problem, and this one is bigger. The calorie count on a label tells you how much energy is in that food. It does not tell you exactly how much of that energy your body actually absorbs. The physical structure of food matters. Digestion, fiber, cooking, and processing can all influence how much energy becomes available to your body. Research on foods like nuts, for example, has found that the body may absorb less energy than traditional calorie calculations predict, and food quality can influence something else that's arguably even more important: how much you naturally want to eat. Minimally processed foods that contain protein, fiber, and more intact food structures tend to affect fullness very differently from many ultra-processed foods. That's one of the biggest blind spots in calorie counting. The number tells you something important about the food, but it doesn't tell you everything about hunger, fullness, digestion, or how easy that food makes it to control your overall intake. And there's another estimate hiding in your calorie app too: calories burned. Your daily energy expenditure isn't a perfectly measured number either. Apps and fitness trackers estimate it using things like your age, weight, activity, heart rate, and exercise. So when an app tells you that you ate 2,000 calories and burned 2,400, you're often comparing one estimate against another estimate. Beyond the math, there's a psychological cost to obsessive calorie tracking that doesn't get talked about enough. When every single meal becomes a number to hit or a number to stay under, food stops being food. It becomes a scoreboard. And for a lot of people, that can turn into anxiety around eating, guilt after a meal that goes over, or an all-or-nothing mindset, where one bad day feels like a reason to give up entirely. For some people, that makes calorie tracking difficult to sustain long-term. The problem isn't necessarily a lack of discipline. Tracking every bite, every ingredient, and every meal can simply become exhausting. And when the process creates guilt or anxiety around food, it may be doing more harm than good. So, if counting calories isn't the answer, what actually works? First, shift some of your focus from calories to food quality. Calories still matter, but food quality can make those calories much easier, or much harder, to manage. A meal built around lean protein, vegetables, high-fiber foods, and minimally processed ingredients will generally be more filling and nutrient-dense than a highly processed meal with the same calorie count. Second, prioritize protein over precision. Instead of obsessing over hitting an exact calorie number, make protein a priority at each meal. Protein can help with fullness and muscle retention, and building meals around it can make managing your overall intake easier without requiring you to track every single ingredient. Third, pay more attention to hunger and fullness cues. Constant dieting and restriction can make those signals easier to ignore. Eating more slowly and noticing when you're comfortably satisfied rather than stuffed can give you another useful tool for managing how much you eat without depending entirely on an app. Fourth, build habits, not streaks. A number you hit perfectly for 2 weeks and then abandon isn't progress. It's a cycle. Small, repeatable habits, like cooking more meals at home or building your plate around protein first, compound over months and years in a way that rigid tracking rarely does. None of this means calorie tracking is useless. For some people, especially in the short term, it can be a great way to build awareness of portion sizes, food choices, and eating habits. The mistake is treating the numbers like exact measurements, instead of what they really are, useful estimates. The real goal isn't hitting a perfect number every single day. It's understanding your food, learning what keeps you full and satisfied, and building habits you can realistically maintain for years, not just for a few weeks. If this helped you see nutrition a little differently, I'll be covering more topics like this on the channel. Real, practical nutrition without the noise. See you in the next one.